Here's the second one. I often see valuation classes structured around spreadsheets. In fact, some of you might have sat in on one of these classes by Training the Street. I like those guys. They come in with spreadsheets. They teach you how to be an Excel ninja. You can write macros on top of macros. You can do those, those shortcuts and turn columns into yellow, green, blue, etc. And at the end of 2 days, you are a master at Excel. And you think this is what valuation is about at the end of the process. In fact, the way I like to describe this is to step back and think about what drives the value of a company. If I'm asked to value a company, there are 4 basic questions to which I need answers. Here's the first one. You've already made those investments in the ground. What are the cash flows you're getting from those existing investments? Could be very small if you're a young growth company, but that's my starting point. That's why I look at the last financial statements, to get a measure of what your existing cash flows are. The second question I'm going to ask you is, what is the value that I see you creating with future growth? Notice how I phrase the question. I'm asking you, what's your future growth? Growth by itself can be worth a lot, can be worth nothing, or can destroy value. Growth can be good, bad, or neutral, because you've got to pay for growth. So I'm going to ask, what's the value you create from future growth? Much more difficult than to answer than what are your cash flows from existing assets, but I need that answer. Third, I'm going to ask, how risky are these cash flows? Notice I didn't throw in any terms to kind of buzzwords you throw in there. What's a beta? Those are tools. Don't mistake tools for end games. I need a measure of risk, and I need to bring it into the value. And finally, I'm going to ask, when will your business be a mature business? Because I've got to put some closure on this process. I cannot keep estimating cash flows forever. So those are the 4 questions around which the valuation swivels, which then brings me to the way I think about valuation. When I start my valuation class, which doesn't start till Monday, there'll be 200 people who walk into the class. And the first question I ask them is, are you numbers people? Or are you story people? In fact, think about it for a moment. I'll bet, given where I am, that there are more numbers people in this room than story people, right? And the reason I say that is, when I look at investing, you have 2 camps. You have the numbers people who love to grind through numbers. It's all about the numbers. And if the story people who like to be creative, they like storytelling. The VC business is a storytelling business. I know they throw numbers in like that target rate of return, but it's an afterthought. It's a negotiating tool. It's a story game. And the problem right now is the story people think that the numbers people are all geeks. And the numbers people think that the story people are all crazy. And they can't talk to each other. In fact, it's almost funny to sometimes watch 2 story people and 2 numbers people trying to talk about things, and they're talking right past each other. And here's the challenge I see myself having. When I come into that class and say, how many story people and how many numbers people? I ask them actually in a very simple way to see which one you are if you're not sure. I ask them, how many of you enjoyed history in high school? And you'll have 20 people, but I love that class. Those are the story people. So how many of you preferred algebra to history? That's the numbers people right there. And my end game for my valuation class is to have numbers people with imagination and story people with discipline. That's the way to think about valuation. If you're a story person, I'm not going to stop you from telling stories. Stories are actually much more effective at selling businesses than numbers are, and it's been true for as long as human beings have been on the earth. So if you tell a story, what I want you to also bring in is enough numbers to discipline yourself, because if you don't have the numbers, it's very easy to veer away into fantasy land. If you're a numbers person and you have no imagination, you're not going to be able to do valuation because it's all about the numbers. If you do a good valuation, it should sing a tune. It should tell me a story. That's what I'm looking for. Behind the numbers, what is the story you're telling about a company?